I've been told that we're going to have a rule that for the first 40 minutes, could we have questions rather than contributions from the crowd? So questions to our wonderful panel. Could we start? Let's work from the back. So the furthest, yeah. Could you stand up, tell us your name, and then ask the question?
My name is Tami. I'm Ajitumobi. I met my lovely sister, Dr. Labi Olubemi. I'm not a doctor. I'm I had the opportunity to meet her at one event I attended. I've worked with mental health for high secure and low secure units, so I can relate to everything you just said. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear the first four guests because I came a little bit late. I'm sorry, but I can understand. I've gone through the agenda and how can I get. Now, we are ladies. I know we do a lot of things in the house, just as Dr. Kadri mentioned. Now, for younger people coming up, because I've got a daughter and I've got a son, and as they're growing up, as I said, I've worked with mental health. There are some symptoms that you could see in them that they might not know that it might lead to mental health or mental illness. Now, as a young lady trying to become a mother, what would you advise her to do to prevent all these things? Prevention is always better than cure, right? Now, how would you prevent or advise or try to make awareness to people, which you're doing now? Because now you're doing this because there are some mental issues, mental health and mental illness issues. Now, to prevent that, as for someone growing up, how would you be able to impact such, to avoid this until you get into the landscape?
When I'm talking to people, a lot of the time they talk about the negative things that have been said to them and the negative connotations, the range of expectations placed on them. And I wonder and observe that actually if we were more positive to each other and we start from the base of what our children, our siblings do that's positive, that actually would build self-esteem rather than actually cause very poor self-esteem. I look at it, I'm afraid, from my social work perspective, when I look at the interaction between families and parents and their children, and that constant chastisement. If you live in South London, you'll recognise wandering around the supermarket only to hear a mother be incredibly negative to a child, and that just builds. So in very simple terms, I think we need to think about what's positive about each other and build that. And also, so as adults, we can do the same. I remember when my father was dying of cancer, I thought about the network of friends I've got. And I've got some really good friends who are great to sit down and talk. And will let you talk till the cows come home. And then I've got some other friends that are really good at just taking you to the pub and going dancing. And I think the thing for me is, what we can do as adults is think about what is it that we might need that might be useful to us when we're having a difficult time. Is it that conversation, that sharing, or is it someone just to take us out and have a really good time in a way that we enjoy, going to a gallery, to the theatre, whatever? If we know a bit about what supports us and helps us to feel good about ourselves, we can then start to sort of build that in the way that we are and the way that we live our lives.
Can I add something? I'll talk to you now as a mother. What I didn't say when I stood up is that I'm the mother of 2 adult young women. I have a daughter who's almost 25 and a daughter who's 21 and a half. And they've grown up in this culture. And as I was saying to Ian over lunch, one of the challenges of the young people today who are part of the BAME community is that they're the products of 2 cultures. And sometimes those cultures do not sit together. They're part of the British English culture, but they also have their other culture, whether it's African or Asian, etc. And a lot of times they feel very, very pulled. I'm going to talk to you now as a mother, not as a psychiatrist or anything else. I think the first thing that we have to do as parents to our young people to reduce the likelihood of mental illness is to have positive regard for our children. Yes. We also need to have unconditional love. I do not always like everything that my daughters have ever done. But one thing I can tell you is that if you were to call either one of them today, they would know that Mummy doesn't always like what we've done, but she loves us unconditionally. The other thing I think that we have to do is to have, not to have unrealistic expectations. You know, people are wired differently. My younger daughter, for example, is very scientifically based. My elder daughter is very creative. You know, I treat them differently. You know, I love them equally, but I treat them differently. So understanding the personalities of your kids and not having unrealistic expectations. I think as parents we need to learn to listen more and speak less. And I think that we need to provide a secure environment. I'd like to think now that no matter what my children did, good, bad or ugly, they would be able to come home and talk to me. I also think it's important for us who come from this Bain culture to understand the environment that they grew up in. My children or my daughters are exposed to things I was never routinely exposed to. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, etc., etc., etc. And as parents, especially in the Bain, we can be very blinkered. I've made it a duty to educate myself, so I understand what they're facing, and I also made myself approachable so my children can talk to me about anything. And I mean anything. And your children must know that no matter what they discuss with you, you're not going to be shocked, and you're not going to freak out, and you're not going to be critical, which is why I come back to that, you know, personal, positive regard. And if you provide that kind of environment where you understand them, they can speak to you, they can confide in you, and you understand the pressures that they are going through, which are different from yours, you're likely to reduce the risk of developing mental illness. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Next.
My question is going to be on mostly on the cultural and religious phases. Now, my question is this. In different faiths that we practice, in different communities, different churches, different mosques, we go different shrines, different worship places that we go to. Is there any way, because we have leaders that we look up to, we have people like the pastors, the imams, the shrine leaders and all that. In this mental issue is very prevalent among every one of us. Which is, if it's not happened to you, you wouldn't know probably it's a good thing or not. My question is this: how can we bring our religious leaders to not to deny, live in denial, and try to help the community and the congregation they lead about this issue that we are discussing here today, to be able to relate it? We should be practical about it. And we live in a denial in the religious sector. In our congregation, we can't talk about it. When you talk to your pastor, that, oh, this person is...
So could we keep it to a question instead of...
The question is this. My question is, how do we pull this, our leaders, religious leaders, into trying to help us to communicate with our congregation about this mental illness we are discussing?
And I know, but the truth is, I cut across. Once you are knowledgeable about something and you are very passionate about it, a lot of times you do not have to sit down and wait to get results. For us that are passionate about creating mental health awareness in Nigeria, we don't sit down. I'm a Muslim, practicing Muslim, like pray 5 times a day, be godly. If I have money, go to Mecca once in my lifetime. You know, following the 5 pillars of Islam. But as I'm sitting down here today, 13th August 2016, I've been to more churches than mosques. Because in Islamic religion is also very more conservative than Christianity. Why do I do that? We now have churches that are now coming out openly to say, yes, we've been fasting and praying, but we need results. I'm sure this broke the internet like 2 weeks ago. She knows about it. A young banker who has a 10-year-old child shooting himself in front of his pastor and in front of his church. That was when people learned, okay, the church couldn't help him. Why? How? He didn't even pray and fast enough. So these are the things that you do see. So what we want to let you know that they have limitations. we the followers, a lot of us have taken it hook and sinker by worshipping our pastors and our malams, forgetting that they are human beings before they became pastors and malams. And it's so sad. Oh, daddy, oh, mama yard, all manner of names, you know, we've developed to, you know, idolize our pastors. And you will not buy one thing for yourself, you will buy a box for your pastor and malam. What is the difference between you and somebody practicing an idol, babalao? So we have to tell ourselves the truth first, as an individual. Sometimes when the pastor or the malam that told them to do this. So we is educating the religious leaders. Because when you're in distress, there are two pathways. Either you look for your religious leader, or to pray and fast with you, or you follow the pharmacy or chemist or somebody, a friend, trusted friend or whatever, to the extremist, babalao and all that. So there are these pathways you on your own devise to get that, you know, yourself away from that. So as human beings, and I will employ everybody sitting down here today, go all out there to your various religious homes. Let them know. If your pastor tells you, throw away your medication, this medication, if you take it, you will not let God heal you. Tell the pastor that even in the Bible and in the Quran, they say that they tell you that what is this saying again now? Everyone heals those who heal themselves. Because if I have headache and she has headache and I'm taking Panadol, I'm telling myself, God, this is Panadol I'm taking. Let me be cured. And she tells God, take care of me. There are 7 billion people on earth. So who is God going to look after first before answering that person? So we should be blindly optimistic and telling ourselves that God will take control. So educating them, starting from you, is very important.
Sorry, can I say something? Can I just say something? Hello, please, can we have a bit of silence as each person speaking, please? Thank you.
Do you know, if you take a look at Brent, right, Brent is 65% from the BME community, right? So 65% of the population, right, is outside of the UK. Right? So we have a very rich, diverse community in Brent, right? And how is it, right, that we are able to work together, to live together, and understand everyone's culture, identity, and their faith and their beliefs? Because do you know what? The one thing we do, right, is we talk to people, right? We respect the identity of those individuals. We have the multi-faith forum. This is where all the faith leaders get together and then talk to each other, and then we bring together all the professionals, all the individuals, right, that we need to, right, so that we can go out to those communities. We can go to the churches, we can go to the mosques, we can go to the synagogues, we can go to the temples, and we can understand what the communities actually need and what the problems are, what the issues are, and then people like myself working with Lade and everybody else, right, we can then, and Ian here as well, right, and work with those professionals to tailor some of those services, because at the moment we're talking about suicide and depression. I think one of the biggest things that fails our communities, right, is that the services don't actually understand the communities they're trying to serve. That's the biggest problem. Right, so by going out there, by bringing people together, by educating people, and giving them the information so that they can go back outside and speak to everybody else and get that information, disseminate that information, and get everyone together. That's the way to do things.
Can I just say something quickly as a pastor? There's a difference, a major difference between faith. It's not on the leaders. The onus is on the followers. In terms of what to do, in terms of, you respect your leaders, but what's the value of your education? If your pastor will tell you to hide yourself in the room when you will be seeing your TV. Listen, when you have an issue, the first point of call is your GP. Then pastors will pray. Of course, that's their business to pray. But the onus is on you as an individual that to know that there's a difference between your faith, foolishness, and
What I would say is, personally, I've noticed that one of the issues with like with religion, all religion is sometimes there's a stigma involved. So some people are scared to tell people, oh, I'm depressed or I'm having these negative thoughts, because people are just going to give you like a Bible verse and say, the joy of the Lord is your strength. or maybe you're under spiritual attack. And I was talking to my friends who study psychology, and we were like, actually, if you read Psalms, if David was here in 2016, yeah, you were like, this guy was bipolar. 1 minute he was in the valley, 1 minute he was talking, saying to his soul, bow down, cast all my soul. Like, he was up and down, up and down. And it's a kind of thing where I believe it's okay for you to be honest with yourself, with God, with everybody, like, look, this is how I'm feeling. Also, I feel like, in my life personally, because my mom was a pharmacist, I didn't have the option to say medication was of the devil, because it's like, that's my mom's job. You know? And the thing is, one thing I realized is, God reveals himself in so many ways. He can give you a miracle, but also God has used science and innovation and medication to help mankind, and it's there for us to help. So sometimes you're praying, God please help me, God please help me, and it's like, I've already provided this medication to the NHS. Go and see your patient. There's also another scare, is sometimes you get a faith. What would, especially adults, if your child says, Mom, I'm depressed, some parents do not want to be that parent with the depressed child.
That's true.
And because of that, they don't want to see the GP or talk about it. Because everyone's concerned about what everybody else thinks, instead of the well-being of your child. And that's not fair on the child. So if the child needs help, let him go and see a professional. He or her go and see a professional.
Can we just get some questions from this side?
It wasn't a question, it was just an addition to that. I've been through I've been through the mental health system. And the key thing there is that personal responsibility is always to be encouraged. Absolutely. Whoever is recovering, you are the one, someone else once said you are the expert. So you are the expert in your own situation. You cannot hear what somebody who is not feeling is telling you, and your spirit doesn't connect to it and act on it. That's foolishness.
Because I've not really gone through the mental illness before, but we hear a lot of people giving subtle suggestions, subtle notification to us about what they are going through, and what we say at that particular point is important. I want to ask, what do we say when we notice that somebody is trying to communicate with you, they're about to commit suicide? An example is this: somebody was saying to me, every time that we talk, oh, let Jesus just come on time. Let rapture just come on time. To me, because having gone through that before, when you're saying let rapture come, or something like that, it's not because you love God so much that you want to leave the world. There's something going on there. So what do we say to subtle suggestions like that they are going through issues?
People drop what we call in the field invitations. They're called suicidal invitation. Somebody will say things like, like you said, or somebody will say words like, I'm tired of everything. So you ask someone, how are you? And they keep telling you they're tired, they're tired. Those are pointers. Somebody decides to start giving away their things, their very treasured things. They look at you and you see their bag on them, and they say, oh, you can have it. Their car, you can have it. Their very nicely, very costly dresses, you can have it. These are pointers. We need to learn to look at our body languages in our community. It's only 26% of those who died by suicide actually have been in contact with the mental health services. So that means that the other 64 are people we have all had contact with. We all have the responsibility. A lot of us hide, we have the ostrich mentality, and we just hide our heads under the sand and think that it's not in my household. My children are fine, my uncle is fine, everybody is fine. But you never know who it would hit, that would hit somebody, that would hit somebody that you know. Let us be our brother's keeper. Once somebody changes in their normal disposition, find out. One of the things that usually happens is that people withdraw a lot. So it's either they go to the opposite side of their normal behavior. So somebody who is normally quiet suddenly becomes very, very out every day of the week partying. They become very, very risky. There was actually an update that I put up on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, please join our Facebook group. It's called the Nous. And it said there are 7 signs of depression that are not very, very common. One of it is risky sexual behavior. One of it is back pain. One of it is the fact that the person becomes very, what's it called now, with spending. They're very reckless with spending. These are signs that are very, very underlying that most of us don't know. But one thing to look out for is that when a person changes in their normal course of behavior, don't throw them to the side. Don't think, oh, she's just being proud, don't mind her. That's the time to knock on the door and to ask for them further. Let's be our brother's keeper. Let's be our sister's keeper in the community. Thank you.
I've actually got a question to ask. As a mental health practitioner, I work with people that with depression and suicidal ideation that actually are in service already. But what if my friend asked me the other day that he's got a friend that is really to themselves. He knows that they're depressed and he knows that they've got suicidal ideation, but he doesn't know what to do about it. So what do you do when you know that someone's got suicidal ideation, but they're not looking for help? So how, as a friend, how would you, what would you do?
I think that's a really important question, and it ties in with what the lady asked. I think I am going to revert now to a bit of my faith teaching, because my late pastor was a medical doctor. And one of the things he taught us and he taught me was the strength of relationship. Now, you know, I'm meeting you for the first time today, so it's probably, I'm not in a position to start having a very personal discussion with you. It'll be hello, hi. But if you know that somebody is depressed, I think you have to do a quick judgment call about, are you the one who can have that conversation with them about, I think you're depressed, I think you need to look for help. And if you think you're not the person, you need to quickly start thinking about who can have that conversation. So for example, if I was depressed, the people that you could approach would be my daughters or my sisters. And they would be able, you would have that conversation with them, and they would be the ones to come to me and say, look, Shade, I think you need some help. Shade, let me go with you to the GP. Shade, I think you need to present yourself to mental health services or to a counsellor, whatever. So I think it's about, A, identifying that there's a problem, and I went through a list of things that you can use to identify, which Lade just recapped. But secondly, it's about supporting somebody to get help, and it might be you who does the supporting, or it might be looking for somebody else who is better placed. So I found myself on a Saturday morning going with, I can think of a case of last year where I went with somebody's daughter to go and approach her mother about the fact that she had problems. And I just went there to provide the moral support so the daughter could start having that conversation with her mom about, Mom, there is a problem, and Mom, you need to have help. I'm going a bit further down the line when Mom didn't want help. Because I work in mental health services, I was kind of behind the scenes supporting the young woman to access services to get the help that she needed.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately for me, I witnessed something about 3 weeks ago in time of somebody doing the deed, and it was really a mind-boggling thing for me. I mean, I'm aware of mental health, I've heard about it, I'm very much involved in a lot of things with other people. But the question I have is this: when somebody ends their life by hanging or by whatever way they've done it, because when I live in Essex, often enough, maybe 5 times in a year, somebody will jump in front of the train and the whole thing gets disturbed, you can't get home. And it's something I'm used to, you know, and people talk negatively. Oh, why does he have to ruin our life by doing that? He could have done it in his own house, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always worried, why are you so insensitive? Why do you... If you have that feeling that they inconvenience you, you can keep that to yourself. To be honest, I don't want to hear on the train you telling me, oh, they're selfish, they're whatever. You don't know what they're going through. But what I saw 3 weeks ago in Haringey really, really shook me. I mean, I'm personally not seeing a counselor because I could not believe it. Now the question I have is, when people do things like that to themselves, that affects you as a person, it changes your life. That's for me personally. Now, the lady in her black dress, she mentioned when people giving you pointers, what do you do? Because I know those of you out there, you're professionals. And for us who are not professionals, there's a limit to how far we can probe into people's lives. So in terms of what you do, is it okay for you to actually probe into people's life? In terms of, and personally I believe that now, you need to befriend people more
we are consumed with our society, with our lives, with our worries and stuff, and you might not be disposed to this mental health issue. But what do you do? How do you befriend people without probing? You know, like you said, Dr. Shadi, you said, if you're not close to me, I won't tell you stuff. But people who are close to you might be able to help. Like myself, my sister said, she's a psychotherapist, she said, Kemi, go see GP. Straight away she said, you're being affected because I was going toilet like no man's business. And she said, your system is in shock, blah, blah, blah. But I'm worried that we are not, in society, we're not befriending our neighbor enough. Maybe, is there something we can do that we can help people? They don't necessarily have to get to that stage where they actually do it, you know, but we can offer them. Or is there a kind of an organization that is out there that people can be encouraged to join? You know, people who are, because one of the things I met you were talking about, sorry, I didn't know your name, sir. 1 second, was that there was a guy called John, and you know, you were talking about that when I came in. Now, I wanted to ask, when people are lonely, is it okay for people who are not professionals to actually get involved in their life? Because I don't know whether there's a what's it called, a line or to cross as a non-professional, and that's my question really.
Being and have friends. You know, I do have an extremely good friend for about 35 years who, during moments of conversation, will say to me, "Don't therapy me." But I think for me, it's about asking the question. You don't need to get into the nitty-gritties. You just need to acknowledge what someone says and ask them if they're all right. I think. No,
if they say they're all right, but you know they're not all right, what do you do?
Well, I will normally, partly because I'm slightly nosy, and I would say that's not due to my profession, it's due to my mother. I would just say, you don't really seem that good to me. I think for me, as a therapist, I really struggle a bit with the professional and non-professional, because at the end of the day, it's two human beings responding to each other. And my best work is done when it comes from the heart rather than a psychotherapy theory. And so for me, I will think about all the risks and stuff and legislation when I was a social worker. But I think sometimes it's just what can make a difference is that real sense of humanity between two people.
You talked about before you came in about the feelings of isolation. Most people, if not all people, who commit suicide, who undertake the act to die from suicide, I beg your pardon, ultimately they feel hopeless, they feel there's no way out, and they feel very isolated in their situation. And I don't know if you were present when I spoke, but I said I speak as a survivor of depression. And actually, just somebody coming up to you and showing that they really care, it can be the opening door to having a constructive conversation, and the first step is somebody seeking help. So forget about the labels. You know what, in my private life, I actually hate it when people call me doctor. Because for me, I'm just Sade. I'm a person, you know, a human being just like everybody else. And there's something about that, you know, sometimes when you put titles, it kind of puts a distance between you. I'm just an ordinary person who grew up in Nigeria and England, who has 2 kids, who's divorced, and who works in a particular area. And I'm human just like everybody else. I go to the loo like everybody else, I get sad, and unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, sometimes I've been clinically depressed.
One way, one very good way, especially if you are a friend to that individual, is to reiterate what you've observed in that individual from what he or she was before and what you are saying now. It's a very good way of breaking that. Like, look, I noticed you don't talk as much as you used to talk before. You are now monosyllabic in your speeches. Yes, no, not, shaking your head. 2 weeks ago, you weren't like this. And you just said not too long ago, you have not been sleeping. You know, you can, because you are aware of these symptoms and you are aware that this person has changed drastically. But you may meet, there are 2 options. Either he accepts or he doesn't accept. If he doesn't accept, these are other ways. You can get the person's, if it's a married person, is a spouse. If it's not married, maybe a mentor, a sibling, a religious leader, somebody who he or she looks up to. That is another very important way of you getting that individual help. In my country, where we don't have a mental health act, the truth is that we go to the extreme at times by getting the law enforcement agents, police, mobile, the soldier. That's extreme, like a crisis intervention team. Like, you need help. If you do not get this help, it may just be like that man on the street. So sometimes when they see them, they're like, okay, I'm going myself. Sometimes you may have to force them to take them for it. So there are different stages where you can actually help somebody. You can send them email on all the information you just put through. Send them email, send them text messages, you know, befriend them. It's not easy, it's time consuming, sometimes it can be emotionally draining, but you are going to impact somebody's life. And if you impact someone's life, you're impacting a generation.
Thank you. Is there any more questions?
And what have you. I worked in the mental health system in a trust for about 5 years, and one of the things I found, putting aside the religious side of it, the distrust amongst Black and Asian families, and it wasn't about, oh, because my pastor said this or my religion said that. I don't trust the system because all they want to do is drug us people as Black or Asians, and they think that's the best solution. Now, my question is, how can we deal with that? Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good that the professionals have to understand people's cultural background, but equally, how do you educate those from this minority to understand the work of the professionals?